Wizards of the Coast have been caught red-handed. They've been caught with their pants down, being naughty, naughty boys, girls, and everything in betwixt, whilst playing with some AI art. This image was shared to Twitter over the weekend with a caption along the lines of, "The new lands look shockingly good in Old Border." Ignore the fact that some of these lands are actually Guildgates, not Shocklands. I don't think that's a big issue, but it is funny that the pun was about Shocklands. Also, for the record, I think the new lands in Old Border, or the old original Shockland art plus the Old Border in the new Ravnica Remastered things, look absolutely gorgeous. Like, these are beautiful renditions of what it is to feel nostalgic about lands in Magic. I love them. It's just shame the packs are so fucking expensive, but on the whole, I like Ravnica Remastered if it was cheaper. Anyway, it's not the lands we're looking at today. Look at the framing object around it. This piece of art that's meant to evoke some sort of steampunk or Ravnican coffee shop or laboratory. If we're honest, before we even get into the fact that this is quite clearly AI generated, there is some element of like, what the fuck is this even meant to be? I don't think this even fits the brief of being, whoa, look, it's Ravnica. People saw this and started saying, Wizards, are you okay? You told us back in December. Literally a statement on December 19th saying that artificial intelligence tools won't be used in Magic the Gathering products. But here we have this. This advertisement is very clearly AI generated. And then Wizards of the Coast doubled down and tweeted again saying, no, you're all confused, my friends. This is not AI generated. And then the audience at home, myself and others, started saying, well, should we look a bit closer? First of all, you got weird artifacting on the sort of dial that's part of this Bunsen burner / pipe network. This artifacting could be reflections though. It's the first thing I noticed, but maybe it's something else. And also, this is the one part of the image that suggests that it's not AI art because, well, AI art doesn't do well with numbers. This has probably been re-photoshopped by someone else into the image. It's been recompiled or edited post-generation. I think that's definitely happened. Beyond that, the pipes all have this weird ridging or sheen to them that is very indicative of AI art, but is not wholesale definitely AI. Then we start to have things like these wires being soldered to a random piece of the casing. Maybe they're grounding wires, but where do they head to? Into this cup that's covered up by a sacred foundry? A real skeptic like myself might consider that the worst culprits of AI artifacting are weird choices by the AI when generating these images. They might be hidden behind these cards. So what is this cup? What are these wires? What is this pipe? None of it really makes a lot of sense for understanding what this machine is meant to be. A wooden box with bulbs and pipes? I guess it's fantastical, I give it that. What is this? It's a random tube thing with no connections, no pipes or wires. Then we come to my favorite thing, this bit over here, where wires from the back connect to the top of the box, connect into a load of random like circlet things, and then the thing that looks like it might be a handle, it might not, it might be in front of the wires or it might be behind. It's got this real, truly uncanny valley feel that when you look closely, you have no fucking idea what you're actually looking at. And then people looked at the bulbs. Look at the inside of these bulbs. They don't look like filament bulbs. The blurring in the background is inconsistent. If you look at this shelf over here, it is not blurred to the sufficient or same Gaussian blur as the window, which is funny because like you could do that in Photoshop. I'm assuming that's been part of the generative or post-production of this AI art, or pre-production should I say, and the human hasn't caught that. And then we have like the window panes that are slightly off in terms of their lining. This one begins to bend upwards for some reason, and this one over here finishes mid-pane. This is the kind of thing that I'd find quirky or Tim Burton-esque in sort of art style at some point in the past, but now it's probably an indication that a machine has not quite understood how a fucking window works. And then we have bottles on the shelves in the back, weirdly shaped. One of them bends off and seems to not end within a space that would allow the shelf above it to exist. And then the books on the right, they look quite good at first glance, but as you get closer, the pages all meld together. But that could just be a trick of the eye, depth of field perhaps. But no one was convinced. And the thing is, there have been witch hunts for like AI all over the shop. People were claiming that this anime Parallel Lives is AI yesterday on Twitter, because everyone wants to be the first person to find some AI art. And even worse so, Wizards of the Coast had to make a public statement that this definitely wasn't AI for this image from Dungeons & Dragons, because the hand isn't visible, because it happens to be behind the shield. And people were on some sort of fucking witch hunt tirade on the internet and on Twitter and on Reddit saying this was was AI, because what human would make this choice about the art? Perhaps a human who made a mistake, or just made a choice that you don't agree with? You got to remember, sometimes when you're asking what human would draw for things like this, people draw dumb shit all the time. Just because their hands look like shit doesn't mean it's AI. Like Rob Liefeld famously can't draw hands. I can't draw hands, or at least hands that look correct on both sides of a body. When I was a kid and I used to start drawing a person when I was like, I don't know, sub 10 years old, I'd always turn the person to a zombie with a missing right or left arm. Because I'd draw one hand and get bored on the other side, not be able to draw the same hand, and just draw it just hanging off at the elbow with bone and gore and viscera hanging out. Look, I really liked the images you'd see of in the Resident Evil guidebooks and in the PlayStation magazines of Resident Evil, okay? I'm a sucker for a zombie art. I'm such a goth. But no one was convinced by this. Like even titans like Hank Green chipped in. And the bit that really sold it for me, because I wasn't sure we should be banging this drum without some clear and concise evidence. We can ask them who made it. Is there any sort of proof of production pipeline here showing that it isn't just a piece of mid-journey trash? Both Dave Raposa, the artist behind Green Sun Zenith and the revamp of Stuffy Doll, and Jason Rainville. These two people, they claim not to be like the upper echelons of magic art, but I think these guys are titans within the game. They've done so many good pieces of art. Rainville last year did Storm the Seed Core, which became a big, like massive runaway hit in terms of its virality of how much people like this Renaissance painting within Magic. These two artists decided that they were done with Wizards if this were to continue. Jason Rainville said that basically he can't support or work for a company that is willing to basically destroy the industry and his lifeblood by allowing AR to exist. That's not his exact words, I'm paraphrasing, but that's the concept, right? Where Dave Raposa was more pissed off that they had lied, that they'd made a statement that they weren't going to use AI assets and art, and then they did. And I want to go back to that Storm the Seed Core for a moment and just point out how this is what human art can be. There is something so full of emotion and so full of like urgency to this that is full of purpose and intent. And I guess at this point I should probably lay out the cards on how I feel about AI art. I think AI tools are super important and they're going to become a big part of all of our lives and our workflow in many industries to come. For example, I use Photoshop every day to make thumbnails or tweak assets that I'll use in videos, and there's generative fill on Photoshop. I'll come more to that in a moment because that's what I think was claim was used here. But either way, that is going to be something that we use. And AI tools to make life easier is not a bad thing. But the problem with AI art is twofold for me, from like sort of two elements of ethical reasoning. Firstly, it is looking to replace the human element of a creative industry. That instead of having artists use their own intuition and their own skills, their own talents, their own emotions and intent to create a piece of art, we instead have a machine simply copying the existing art out there, the existing emotion-filled pieces of art from the past and human effort to create something that's basically a simulacrum or a copy of that. There will be no innovation. It's soulless in essence. But a lot of media is soulless, I guess. So to layer onto that why I feel the way I do about AI art, you've got to realize that beyond simply copying and creating a simulacrum with no like original intent or understanding of what it's doing, beyond that you have this issue where it is copying the existing work of artists without their permission. And there is this big talking point that I keep getting into with fucking idiots on the internet, where they tell me it's no different to have AI trained on the works of artists compared to people like you and I copying other people's art by learning from them and taking influence or respectful influence from those things. The thing is, there's a big difference in multiple ways. The first being that we're not directly plagiarizing people by making some fan art of Batman. And B, art is iterative and part of an intercontextual web where human beings learn the genre conventions and the traditions of other artists to become part of that artistic tradition or canon. And then from there, we adapt or innovate as artists, creatives. So what we then end up with are these simulacrums of existing art, of collections of things that it can check, a predictive text as opposed to an inspired piece of art. And then the third point, I guess, I said there's only two, but there's a third point, is that will take away the jobs, that will take away the human input and the livelihood of people doing real actual art. And that's the problem when it comes to Hasbro and Wizards, right? Is that Hasbro are cutting jobs right now and firing people, and they're changing the production system for Secret Lairs to make it more of a FOMO thing, but telling us it's to allow us to get our cards quicker, and they're doing everything that makes things cheaper and easier instead of reinvesting in themselves. So instead of investing in more art directors or more artists, they're instead cutting back. I know at least one art director at Wizards has gone. And in its place, we then start to see this trickling in of AI art, this leaking in of AI art. It's indicative of a wider problem that we'll see across multiple industries in the next couple of years, as people will cut costs wherever they can. It's cheaper to use AI art than it is to use real artists, and that's all a corporation like Hasbro gives a shit about. Now, the apology. Wizards have quite literally apologized. Well, we made a mistake earlier that we said that the marketing image was not created using AI. Read on for more. As you, our diligent community, pointed out, it looks like some AI components that are now popping up in the industry standard tools like Photoshop crept into our marketing creative, even if a human did the work to create the overall image. While the art came from a vendor, it's on us to make sure that we are living up to our promise to support the amazing human ingenuity that makes Magic great. We already made clear that we require artists, writers, and creatives to contribute to the Magic TCG to refrain from using AI generative tools to generate final Magic products. Now we're evaluating how we work with vendors on creative beyond our products, like these marketing images, to make sure that we are living up to those values. It's good that they ended up not tripling down after doubling down, and they admitted that they fucked up, but they were getting hammered from every side, including prevalent and very good artists who are successful and popular within the Magic sphere, saying they're no longer going to work with the company. The pressure was big enough in that sense to stop them from doubling or tripling or quadrupling down. And do you know what? Big props to Jason Rainville for actually making a stand against this shit. This point about how it's to do with the AI tools in Photoshop creeping into their marketing creative is an interesting one, on two angles. One being how these tools are used in future, and two is how companies deal with PR and marketing in future. I decided in a call with some of my patrons, and if you want to support the show and the channel and the stuff I make, I've got a link to my Patreon down below. The top tier, $25 a month, gets you access to me once a week. We hang out and we chat Magic, Warhammer, hobbies, the world in general. In this week's call, I opened up Photoshop and I used the generative fill tool to fill a blank white canvas with the words along the lines of steampunk office, comma, I think I might have put library, comma, something else. It was like 6 words. And this is what Photoshop created for me with 6 words. Well, truth be told, this like bulb over here was created by drawing a square around the top of this lamp and writing the words like filament bulb, comma, glass, comma, Victorian, I think it was. Look, I'm anti-AI, and this was all just more of an experiment to see if we could replicate the results we saw in the marketing image for Ravnica Remastered on the official Wizards website. But it was so funny after like, I think it was our second attempt. Our first one I'd written desk and it had not come out correctly. On our second attempt, someone literally went, whoa, out loud in the call. And I was like, wow, I guess we've hit it here. We're doing hard-hitting journalism. I shared this to Twitter as a meme. I had Helium Square and Rakdos Gilgate and Steam Vents, and some people were very angry at me for using AI for the joke. I mean, I don't support the use of AI art. I will go out of my way not to use AI art on this channel. I will just sloppily slam things together on Photoshop myself. But this was a meme, this was a illustrative example of what you can do with these tools. The point is I'm using tools that Wizards are kind of half accepting were used to create the original image. I think this serves a purpose. It's not amoral at all times to utilize any AI. It's not like I'm fucking murdering babies here. I know no one's saying I'm murdering babies, but it's really funny that I generated one image for like a parody or satire purpose, and that made people tell me that I was damaging artists. And it's really funny because the funniest part is that Andreas Garcia, the guy who did my tokens for Cool Stuff Inc., he did my playmat for Milk Isle. Andreas is a good lad. He thought this was funny. He even memed on it himself. He's one of the artists that I've worked with, that I've commissioned and paid to do stuff for the channel. Either way, it just goes to show that this wasn't Mid-Journey, or it wasn't DALL-E or any of the big image like AI programs and names we see floating around. This was an industry standard and home domestic standard program that people used in their own time. This was Photoshop. I'll accept that the original image was a little bit better than mine in terms of composition, so it looks like some effort was made to create a background then blur it, or make a background and put blur or Gaussian blur into the prompt, and then they made the desk, and they made the items. Some parts of it were made using the AI tools separately, but I still believe nearing everything except for the cards themselves that were then chopped in with a little bit of perspective added and some drop shadow. I believe that every item in that original image, this one here, I'm starting to think that everything in this image was made from the Photoshop generative AI fill option that became available last year, and then there's a couple of bits of Photoshop like the dial to fix the obvious AI bollocks. And there's that second point that they mentioned about like working with creative teams, because Wizards of the Coast have explicitly said we won't use AI, but that doesn't mean that the PR companies that are outsourcing shit to won't. I think we're going to see a lot of this across multiple industries of people claiming they're not going to use AI art for the ethical reasons that spin off of the feelings that I've had and share in this video, and then they're going to work with companies that will. Like there's a recent example where I played some AI generated cards for a video that's not out yet on another channel, and they all had AI art on them as well, which made me feel uneasy because then we're really kind of promoting it in a video. I think it ends up being okay in that situation because it's like a throwaway gag perhaps, and we were never commissioning art for them in the first place, but it still made me feel uncomfortable. But as a company like Hasbro fires more and more people and outsources everything to other companies, I feel like we're going to learn a lot more about that over the coming year or two, I really do. Then a lot of the in-house marketing is just gone and going to go out to outsourced people who will happily use whatever AI tools they've got to make this quick and efficiently for the highest profit margin for the client. And as we get companies like Hasbro, corporations and profit-driven conglomerates looking to grind human ingenuity into the dust in search for profits and wealth, we kind of need bastions of creativity like Wizards of the Coast. It's really funny me saying that out loud because Wizards are obviously held on a fucking lead. Or that's not even the right way. They're in a GIMP mask being suffocated by Hasbro at the moment. So that's kind of where we're at. This bastion of creativity, the shepherd of Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering, two of the greatest like tabletop games of all time, is currently trapped in a basement by Uncle Hasbro in a GIMP mask. Yeah, I said it twice. It makes it funny if I say GIMP mask a third time, right? You want these companies to put their foot down and be a bastion in the sea of AI, computer-generated fucking derivative drivel that's going to come into every element of your feed, your life, and your content consumption in gaming in the next couple of years. So make a stand now. When you see this shit, call them out. And if you want people calling them out on Twitter, you did it. We made some amount of change that you could see as positive. Either way, it's good that they came back on it, and I'm hoping we don't have another issue with them using AI art again soon, but realize that we had a statement on December the 17th, I think it was, and then what was it, January 7th, we had another one. Less than 30 days later, they were caught using AI art again in their marketing images because of outsourcing to marketing companies that are happy to use this shit. That's the lowdown, that's the source, that's my feelings. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to like it, maybe share it with your friends so they can get the lowdown on what's happening as well. And I'll see you down in the comment section as you tell me how AI art is completely harmless and it's okay that machines will be feeding you slop for the rest of your life. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Ta-ta for now.